And good evening. An urgent manhunt is underway right now for the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk. The FBI releasing these images of a person of interest in the fatal shooting. Take a good look. You can see him there with dark sunglasses, a hat, and a shirt. Authorities say they're reviewing images that show a man entering campus, going through stairwells up to the roof, firing, then fleeing into a neighborhood. They believe a single shot was fired approximately 200 yards away. Authorities were on a roof today. You see them right there near the spot where a person was seen yesterday.
So look, I know that thus far we've not talked extensively about the nationwide manhunt currently going on for the Charlie Kirk assassin. And a big reason for that is, first of all, we've had a lot of other things to discuss, including honoring Charlie's own life. But secondly, the other reason is because I genuinely assume by now it is well over 48 hours into the situation that they would have found the guy, or at the very least identified him. Yet it is currently past midnight on September 12th, 2025, and the FBI, despite having information on him, despite knowing his face and seeing him and all this stuff, first of all, it's not only not found the guy, but can't even figure out what the guy's name is or anything about him. And look, I have to say, maybe by the time you're watching this video, they've already found the guy and now it's all fine. But frankly, my opinion on this still remains the same, which is I have to say this, even if you're watching this by the time they found him, I believe this was a sincere failure of law enforcement in this country, both on the federal level and the state level, that's taken this long, okay? And I know someone's going to probably come in the video saying, look, you don't know what you're talking about. You never worked in law enforcement. You're kind of just like yapping and complaining about things you have no power over, blah, blah, blah. But frankly, I see it differently, okay? Because even just using my logic on this situation, you've had the guy's face for a whole day now. This is the most wanted fugitive in the country, okay? And you don't even know you don't know anything. It's appalling to me that we pay that much in taxes for an FBI that is one of the biggest intelligence agencies basically on the entire planet, one of the most powerful ones, and you can't find the one single guy who committed the most prolific crime in the country known this entire freaking year. No, I'm sorry, it is appalling. And the other genuine concern I have about this is, we're already now going to be dealing with an assassination culture. That much is well known. A lot of us are now in fear that, some copycat's going to go do the same to us, and it's a huge problem in America, and everyone knows it. But think about the message it sends. That not only can you do something like this, that you can get away with it, right? If the guy escapes, totally, which who knows, he may well have, right? He could be on the other side of the country by now. He could be in another country by now, and we just never even figure out who the heck the guy is, or by the time that happens, he's already hidden somewhere you can't find him, right? And with all of that in mind, what that message would send to potentially other lunatics in this world, it's terrible. That's why I say no, I believe all of my criticism here is warranted. And I want to talk about that. I want to get into that. I'll kind of share with you at the same time the details we currently do have on the manhunt and who he may have been. And newsflash here, guys, the details are frankly pretty sparse. But again, I'm going to explain why I would categorize this thus far as a failure of law enforcement. That's just objectively true to me. Disagree if you want, but let me make the case. So we'll get into it, guys. And as usual, if you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Now, I will say, I really do think that the security failure here, the dropping of the ball, frankly starts before the shooting. And there's counter arguments to be made to this. And so we'll address that in a second. But I first of all would like to point out, this is the same exact situation as Butler, Pennsylvania, and the attempted assassination on Donald Trump, where someone gets on a rooftop, it's an outdoor event, the law enforcement not taking it seriously, not taking threats seriously, does not secure the perimeter and certainly does not secure the rooftops around the perimeter, where obviously that would be a good vantage point to take the shot. And much like in Butler, we did see videos of people saying, hey, look, there's someone on the roof, and ultimately he was still allowed in the end to take the shot.
Getting right up.
Yeah, you think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying. He just ran from, Where's my finger? Whoa, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying,
Hard to say it wasn't a failure, no? Now look, in total good faith, I will address the counter argument to this, which is that you're dealing with Utah Valley University School Police, where probably nothing else happens or has happened thus far. This is not a politician. It's not a Secret Service issue. It's just a conservative activist. A high-profile one, yes, at a time where the country is politically divided, yes. But I could still genuinely see how the threat assessment, maybe the risk level to the police, maybe they just didn't really believe this would be enough of an issue where you had to do something like that, such as secure the rooftops and ensure that someone doesn't go up there and try to take a pot shot. So I kind of get that argument, right? At the same time, this still rings true in a long trend of school police at university campuses during conservative events failing to protect the peace and failing to keep people safe. And what do I mean by that? Because we've seen repeated cases, basically even before Trump got elected, and especially ever since, I'm talking about the first time there, where a conservative speaker comes to campus, you see massive rioting going on. There's violence. People are getting assaulted. People are getting liquids thrown at them, beat up, all this crap. And the school police and the local police basically just stand there and let it happen. Whether that was when Milo Yiannopoulos came to speak at like UC Berkeley back in 2017, whenever it was, many different Ben Shapiro events, like the one in Wisconsin-Madison years ago and many others, where the protesters in that case just shut down the event. They just took over the room and the police don't do anything. They're not even anywhere to be seen. Like, it's totally insane, right? It's totally ridiculous. To even back in 2023 and 2024, where I remember specifically at a Cal State school, you had riots taking place on the campus. They're like smashing the windows, and guess where the police are? Nowhere to be found. They just stand there and watch it happen, literally. Who could forget the infamous Palestine protests taking place at Columbia and other schools that arguably were a big contributing factor to Trump's reelection and all that? And in all of these cases, repeated problem, systemic problem in America, the school police ultimately fail to stop violence and fail to keep people safe. And as a result of that, relinquish, as school police, their top duty to ensure academic integrity and actual free speech and all of those things that university education is supposed to be about. Because ultimately, if you cannot keep people safe from violence, then you cannot have free speech. So look, I understand in this one case, it was a professional hitman, some people are saying. I don't know if that's true, right? Again, maybe the police could not have foreseen it. Okay, I understand all of that. But it still doesn't change the fact this is objectively still yet another security failure you've seen on a university campus during this type of stuff. It's not the first example, and they just keep allowing it to happen. And I guarantee you, unfortunate reality, but it's true, a lot of university police probably woke up today and just went on their day as normal and didn't think to be any more careful or diligent about anything, okay? Because a lot of these people don't take their job seriously. That's just the reality. I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't know who I'm offending by saying that, but it's just the reality. I've been in college too, by the way. I've witnessed the same exact thing, okay? The university police at my school they're cool guys, okay? They're funny, we crack jokes. But in reality, no one took them freaking seriously. And if there was a real situation, do I really believe that a university police officer would have been able? I don't really think so. And in this case, I know so, right? Because they let him take this shot. They let him get away. Totally inept response. Widespread reports on the ground. There weren't even enough police in the freaking town. They had to, hours later, they're still having police come in from other areas. No, it is a failure. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if you're an law enforcement an expert here. I believe they failed, and you cannot change my mind on that front. That said, let's now move on to the manhunt. Because this still, too, is a failure because I can't freaking find the guy. So let us read you from this article here on, here it is, right? What we know about Charlie Kirk's shooter as the manhunt continues. And newsflash, the answer here is basically nothing. So here are those details. The suspect being sought in Wednesday's fatal shooting of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk in Utah is first of all believed to be a college-age individual with an apparent proficiency in handling a high-powered rifle, and likely knew the layout of the university where the homicide occurred, according to the authorities and a former FBI agent. Now, that's already interesting on a number of levels. Because first of all, there is a high likelihood, I would think, it was a student of the school. Maybe not. Maybe he just knew the area. But, have you searched the database of the students? I would sure hope so. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, right? But this is also interesting. College-age individual. Because if you go down and you look at some of the images that have been released, and I'm sure you've seen these, they have the guy's face, right? It can be digitally enhanced through the tools they have. He's clearly young. Wasn't even wearing gloves, by the way, so maybe get some prints. I don't know. But the reason I bring that up is because given his age, most likely this guy was issued a real ID at some point. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm sure if you're familiar in the United States, so nowadays, in order to fly, and usually most states have just been giving them out. I don't know the particular case in Utah, how that's been done. But like when I was 17, I believe I first got the ID, and it was a real ID. It was automatic. It was standard by then because it was already being implemented in the United States. And the reason that's significant is because real IDs are biometric. What does that mean? Basically, they can scan your face, detect who you are through facial recognition software, and match it to your identification card. Now, a lot of civil libertarians are not big fans of it. They say it's a police state. They say it's authoritarian. We're not here to have that debate. I'm just asking the question right now. With all of the biometric data in the United States, how have you still not found this guy? Is it really this story where he was completely off the grid? Is another Thomas Crooks where you just genuinely know nothing about the guy? I don't know. But if it is another Thomas Crooks, I'd further say the original Thomas Crooks story still doesn't make sense. We still don't even know anything about that guy as well, which further compounds why I'm so pissed off about this case, because I feel like time after time, the ability of federal authorities to actually explain who political assassins are, time and time again, they failed, right? It's the same thing over and over again. We still don't know why the guy took the shot on July 13th. We still don't even know who the guy is on, the Charlie Kirk situation. Yet I'm supposed to be totally trustworthy of our federal agencies. And, look, you just don't understand law enforcement. They're going to say time and time again. No. I'm so sick of that garbage. Who is the guy? If you can't find him yet, at least tell us who you think he is. And by the way, if you have an ID at this point, which is another theory, they know who he is, they just aren't telling the public, why would that be the case? Wouldn't you want to give out his ID so that way maybe people who know him can provide more information, considering, again, you have not found the guy? I don't know. That would make sense, I would think. But, it is what it is, right? Also worth noting as well. So earlier today, you may have seen reports. We pushed them a lot of conservatives did, because it's what the ATF was saying, that they found his gun. It was a Mauser bolt-action 30-06, and basically inscribed on parts of the gun and some of the ammunition, according to them, were pro-transgender and pro-Antifa slogans and symbols and ideology and all of that. You may not have heard that the ATF has since walked back those comments and said that they weren't true and now they don't know what was written on there, to which I further say, again, what a stunning failure of communication. So first you had this. That's what you said it was. And who knows, maybe that's what's really on it. But then hours later, for some reason, they took it back and they keep flip-flopping. And again, we don't know the identity of the shooter. See why I'm pissed off? See perfectly why I am so skeptical of this whole situation already. And we still don't have the guy. And heck, who knows? Maybe we find the guy and it's another Thomas Crooks situation, or even Vance Bolter, where it's just oh, we don't know anything about him. He has a very mysterious past and we can't even figure out the motivation. I mean, it's just totally ridiculous, right? So worth noting as well, during the news conference this past evening, state and federal officials released new videos of the guy basically running and, jumping off of the roof, which is spotted here, right? He basically, jumps off. Clearly hurt himself, by the way, right? He hurt his ankle. It was a pretty tall jump, which also lays out a number of things. First and foremost, so if the guy's injured, then we'd also have to assume that maybe he wasn't able to even move that fast to get away. I don't know, right? And if he has a car, maybe that's one thing, but also if he's on foot, he could not have even gone that far necessarily. You see, and also that should make him easier to identify in public if he is in public, first of all. Secondly, though, I have seen a theory floated around a lot that this guy appears to have been a professional hitman, and that's why the law enforcement haven't been able to catch him yet, because he's so good at this. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But I point out the fact that, first of all, you would maybe think a professional hitman has a better escape than this. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, right? But it's just a theory I would have that should be the case. The guy also was not spotted wearing gloves. You know, he's kind of young, by the way. Is someone this young and this like kind of scrawny looking that's a professional hitman? I don't know. Just some ideas though I have here. But furthermore, so far authorities have received more than 7,000 tips and leads and completed some 200 interviews, Utah Governor Spencer Cox said. Okay. By the way, the guy's parents, again, he looks young. According to them, he's college aged. He doesn't have parents. He doesn't have friends who knew him. No one's like, hey, I know that's so-and-so. I don't know. I'm further speculating here why it's just like not even spreading conspiracy theories, just objectively a bad job currently being done. And I'd furthermore say that ultimately, if Kash Patel, who is the FBI director and a Trump loyalist, I get it, but if he cannot find the most high-profile suspect and assassin in the entire country, most high-profile murderer currently in the country, when you have security footage and people saw him and run away and all this stuff, then that's on him, right? Then he shouldn't be FBI director at this point. I'm not saying do it now. I'm not, give him a chance, see where it goes. Maybe they'll provide an explanation for all of this. But thus far, have you really been all that impressed, right? Trump's been president. They still don't know about the assassination, A lot of people would raise certain concerns. It talks about the Epstein files and all that. I get it. But how in an active case can you still not figure this out? I just don't understand it, right? The governor of Utah further on Wednesday called it a political assassination. They recovered the weapon already the day of. He dumped the weapon, right? Bowles said the weapon was a high-powered bolt-action rifle. It was discarded in a wooden area near Utah Valley University in Orem and is being analyzed at an FBI laboratory for any clues that can identify the gunman. Now, if it was in the dirt, shouldn't you also have tracks that you can follow? I don't know. I'm just, again, speculating here. But, apparently it was an older model imported Mauser 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle found wrapped in a towel in a wooden area near the school. This, of course, further raises questions to the leftists who are currently screaming so much about gun control. I know they don't understand guns, but a Mauser, this is literally like a World War I era rifle we're talking about. And it's not semi-automatic, which is what they always say. The semi-automatic high-powered assault rifle. Well, this is not that, okay? They don't even know what semi-automatic means, but it's not even that, okay? You fire, right? A lot of people use it for hunting. You have to do it that way. It's not very efficient. Who knows if it was even imported, if he had the gun legally or how he got it, right? But it does boil down again to the further left-wing argument that, first of all, you shouldn't have any guns because they don't care if it's an AR-15 or not. They still call for gun control. And then, furthermore, hey, if someone just gets it illegally, because there's plenty of a black market out there for guns, well, you should just be defenseless in terms of if someone tries to use it against you. I guess it's just a simple answer there. I don't know. How you're now going to control Mausers? What's next? Musket control, right? 1860 Henrys. We need an assault rifle ban on this, okay? No more bolt action rifles. No more lever action. No more muzzle loaders, right? I don't know, but a spent cartridge was found discovered in the chamber of the gun and all that. Again, they're looking for fingerprints and looking for DNA, but they still can't figure out the guy. Investigators further also collected a footwear impression, palm print, and forearm prints, and they have good video footage. Yet despite all of that, in the United States of America, which in many ways, infrastructurally, is a police state, all the technology, all the AI, all the everything, they don't have a name to the shooter. Very interesting, right? So, essentially, guys, there you have it. I don't really have much else to say about this other than, again, in my opinion, total failure of law enforcement. And I think it's a travesty, and it is kind of suspicious, whether it's incompetence or something else, why you still have not found this freaking guy. And I'm going to really quickly look online to see if there's any new news on this, but that does not appear to be the case. And yeah, there you have it. Again, if they do find the guy ultimately in the end, I still don't care. It still rings true that they failed in this. It should not have taken this long, and I don't care what anyone says about that. So, that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Tell me where I'm wrong. Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.